Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our special council meeting of July 7th, 2023. Can I please have the roll call?
Mayor Sidney.
Present.
Reeve Eamon.
Present.
Councillor Legree.
Present.
Councillor McWhirter.
Present.
Councillor McDonald. Councillor Sobalski.
Present.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Present.
Mayor Sidney, we have quorum.
Thank you very much. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Any declaration of interest? Hearing none, moving on to items for consideration. C1. That Renfrew Town Council approve the entering into a 10-year lease with the Renfrew County and District Health Unit for space at Town Hall at 120 Plant Street South. Mover, please. Councillor McWhirter, seconded by Councillor Legree. Turn it over to clerk. Or the CEO.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So as we've been discussing, the health unit will be one of our partners in the renewed town hall space where the former detachment was. With the pace of construction, they will be moving in September 1st. There will actually be a tour for the tenants later today, so they're excited to be here. The terms will start, we're getting about $18.16 a square foot, so a total of $29,562 in year one, starting in January, but and then the prorated amount for September to December, and then there's an escalation clause of 2.5% annually going forward, and then there's the potential for a five-year renewal. As part of it, because of the way that the building is kind of wired, utilities, maintenance, and property taxes remain with the landlord, but the tenant will be responsible for their telecommunication, any business levies that will apply, as well as any other services not provided. So if there are any questions on this, but I think this is a good partnership for the town, will provide a revenue source. The other thing I should say is we formally got notice that the courts have terminated their lease, even though they haven't been in the building for, I think, more than 2 years. So our rent from the courts will expire at the end of July. So this is actually good. So although they haven't been in the building, they have been paying rent, and then the health unit will join us September 1st, and that's the same time for the Business Hive partners as well that will be moving in around the same time.
Any questions, Council? Hearing none. Reeve Emo, you're good?
Yep.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. On to C2. That Renfrew Town Council approve the additional expenditure of $96,672 inclusive of non-refundable HST to pave the park and ride with 80 millimeter of asphalt. Mover, please. Councillor McWhirter, seconder. Councillor Legree. Turn it over to Director Aslan. I'll turn. Connor? Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so this report, this project was originally designed and tendered in March 2022. We received 5 bids, or there was 5 people who registered for that bid, but only one company bid, and that was BEI, for the value of $5,116,885. Post-tender, we worked with BEI to reduce the scope to get it in a more manageable state. So through that, we managed to get the price down to $3,559,457. And then with the engineering and project management costs, that came to $4,285,685 with HST and 10% contingency. Now with the project nearing completion, the actual project cost is less than the original approved budget. Staff recommend that paving the park and ride to be completed for the reasons outlined below. Now, one of the ways that we reduced the scope was removing the paving and the size of the park and ride to get it within a more manageable cost. So that was one of the big areas where we saved money. So now, after or we're almost completed now. We have some extra money. The total amount was what I stated, and what we have right now is $4,116,677. So there's a net difference of $169,000. That's before the paving. So the paving would come out to, so we have money in the original scope for the $96,672. For the park and ride itself, this would greatly benefit it by paving it, because it would reduce the maintenance on the gravel and restating and grading it, and also it would help facilitate snow plowing and removal. So staff recommend authorizing this expenditure to get this park and ride paved to kind of finish and get a good quality of product at the tourist booth. We would also respect the decision if council chooses not to proceed with the paving of the park and ride at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councillor Andrew Dick?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. How do I say this politically correct? I just don't understand. Our roads are just horrible throughout the town, and we're going to spend $4 million to pave a parking lot, and the optics on this for the shareholders will be absolutely horrible as they drive by and see us paving a parking lot when their streets are, it's like to even ride a bike down them is horrendous. So personally, I'm not okay with this. And, you know, we've asked for a lot of work on our roads in Renfrew. A lot of us ran to be on council saying we were going to figure out the roads. And then this comes across our table that we're going to spend, I believe you said $4 million to pave a parking lot.
96,000.
So what's with the $4 million? Please
That's the O'Brien roundabout, the finish, the whole thing.
Oh, I apologize. I apologize. 100% apologize. So this is just being added on. So since they're going to be there working on the roundabout.
No, that's, I'll turn it over to Director Aslan to
Connor,
finish it.
please. Sorry, I totally misunderstood you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So, yeah. So the original project from Gillen to Mask, that's what the original project was, and that came out to the $4,285,000. So that's where that number is.
Okay.
So through the construction process, we haven't spent that much. We have less, $169,000, I think it was. So we didn't spend as much as we actually budgeted for, because we removed the paving of the park and ride. And we still have money in the budget. We just wanted to look at getting a cost to pave the park and ride and get it completed. So this, the amount just for the park and ride is the $96,000 for the original amount. But the original budget for the whole project was the $4.2 million.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for explaining yourself. Sorry, so I could understand it. That's a better term.
Yeah,
okay.
I apologize because I was jumping ahead too for what's coming next. So I was a project ahead of the game. I think, Revimo, you had your hand up?
Okay, thank you so much for explaining that. That makes me much more happy.
Yeah, thank you. And part of when this project come up, we'd ask staff to make sure, because at the time, with all the post-COVID costs and the uncertainty in the market, and everybody was getting pricing that was 40 or 45% over what was budgeted. So we'd ask staff to come up with a plan that removed portions of the project that we could live without if necessary. So it was removed, out of prudence. But the original intent was always to have it paid, because we're working with some of the Renfrew County ATV and with the snowmobile clubs to try and get them to use that parking lot. So there will be a fair bit of as a jump off spot to get on the Algonquin Trail. So there will be a fair bit of use there with vehicles turning and trailers and all sorts of things as well. So I think, if we don't pave it, we're going to spend a lot of time wishing we had. And since it's within budget, it makes sense. And to Councillor Andrew Dick, point, 96,000 may not do much on a street. Given what the scope of the projects, and it's best to try and get as large a project as possible. So I think it makes sense for us to tidy that up, finish that project up, and then just move on with the next step, rather than leaving it white gravel, which will turn to mud fairly quickly. So I'm in favor with it because it meets our original projections and budget. So thank you.
Any other questions? You're good? Councillor Spolsky?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I will agree with Councillor Dick. The optics of us doing parking lots does feel a little odd with the condition of our roads, but due to the fact that we are there, the equipment's there, it's part of the project, so I think it's a good idea to get it done and proceed. So just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any Councillor Andrew Dick?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just think it's like sometimes I kind of don't understand things, but once I understand it, and I think it's important, us as councillors, now that we understand the project, the optics are going to be bad, but now we have an explanation, and we can explain to the taxpayers that come to us and start talking and asking questions about it now through Revimo and Connor. Is it Director Connor yet? Acting Director Jameson. Now we understand and we can explain that. So thank you to Acting Director Jameson for explaining that. Thank you to Revimo, and yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think in addition to that, along with what Revimo said about using the park and ride for the ATVs and snowmobiles, I think we're wanting to draw that demographic to Renfrew, and I think having a good place for them to load and unload and also being aware of their equipment and everything else too. I think it does make sense, and it'll be nice to see this project finished. So any other questions? Councillor Legree?
Through you, Mayor Sidney. I will support it. I just have a question about the $3 million MTO Connecting Links Fund. Does that affect, if we weren't to do this, does that affect that money? Are we that close to?
Director Haslem?
Yeah, so part of the original MTO Connecting Link agreement was the $3 million was to cover the roadworks and the park and ride. When we did realize higher tender costs, we did sort of talk to the MTO about the reduction in the scope to still maximize our $3 million. So actually, the $3 million has been transferred to our bank account. The MTO is perfectly okay with the scope. This is just something during the project they found there was more granulars under the road in some areas, so we used less granular A, which then kind of reduced our actual construction costs, which freed up a little bit of money to kind of put this back in. Since we had taken out and reduced the size of the parking lot, I think now just to, like Director Jameson has indicated, it will help for maintenance, and we'll be able to actually draw, pavement marking on the parking lot as well. But it doesn't affect the grant at all. It's just something over top of the grant.
Perfect, thanks. I have one more question, if that's okay.
Yep.
I went out there yesterday and looked at it, and I know like where the trailers pump out their septic is kind of right there. So there'll be, if somebody's parked in that new spot at the back, will there be an exit out onto, what's that road, Mask Road or whatever? So there'll be two, just if you can explain that, just.
Yes, so with that we have 2 entrances or 2 exits into that parking lot. There's one off Mask, and then there's also one by where the trailers dump. So just in case there is trailers in front of that, because it does get busy there. Obviously a lot of people use that dumping station, so yes, there is an entrance off the side to Mask to be able to get in and out.
Perfect, thank you, that's it.
Any other questions? All in favor? Seeing unanimous? All right. Carried. Thank you, Council. On to C3, Engineering Award. The Renfrew Town Council approved the award of engineering services for the O'Brien Road Highway 60 project from Mass to Wrangler to JP2G Consulting Inc. in partnership with BTE in the amount of $520,787.33, inclusive of non-refundable HST. Mover, please. Councillor Spolsky, second by Councillor Legree. I'll turn it over to Acting Director Jameson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and through you. So just a little background on Connecting Link. just in case some people don't know, but Ontario Connecting Links are municipal roads that connect two ends of provincial highway through a community or to inter-provincial border crossing. These critical roadways serve the provincial and municipal interests as they carry long-distance provincial highway traffic moving through communities as well as local traffic within the community. They remain as highways under the jurisdiction and control of the municipality. And the town of Renfrew has 6.8 kilometers of connecting links. That consists of Highway 60 and Highway 132 and one bridge. And we have been successful in previous projects in the Connecting Link program and under funding programs for Highway 60 and 132. The town has been successful in obtaining provincial funding of Lisgar, of a lot of different connecting links, but they're from Lisgar, Highway 132, Highway 60, from Hall Avenue to Gillen, downtown, Highway 60 from Hall to Boncha River Bridge, Stewart Street, and Highway 60 from Gillen to Mask. And one thing I'd just like to say, we're very grateful for this funding program. It came a long way, and it definitely helps out in all these projects because these are really big projects and wouldn't be able to get a lot of them done. And also thank you to for past and present council and Mike and everyone else involved in these programs that put in a plan to get these all done and have a plan going forward, because this is one of the big ones. It's the last one in this phase. It's also the most critical. It links. There's a lot of things that link into it. You have the Hall Avenue extension, you have the 417 extension, you have a master transportation plan, and obviously the MTO Whitten realignment. So there's a lot of things that play a part into this role, and it's a very critical, high-risk thing. Plus, there's also a roundabout involved in this. So to the actual, we, on April 3rd, 2003, we got notice that the Intake 8 application was accepted, and we got $3 million in provincial funding. Our department, Infrastructure and Public Works, issued a proposal on June 9th and eight engineering firms to complete a design and provide construction management. 3 proposals were received by June 29th. Ranging from $364,757 to $520,787, inclusive of non-refundable HST. Proposals were evaluated by myself and Mike. The evaluation criteria were set out in the RFP, which included the understanding of the project, experience of the firm and assignment team, methodology, schedule, and financial. The proposals included design fees in 2023 for the supervision of consulting, construction and contract administration in 2024. Now with the prices, so for financial-wise, in the capital project, we had $601,503.26 in our budget, and with JP2G's cost, we are $80,000, just under $81,000 less than the budget for these elements. So for the alternatives, we have, obviously, we're recommending award to JP2G. There's also do not award, or the final option is award to Morrison Hirschfield, which was the second point getter. If you wanted to go option 1, this is not really too viable as one of the alternatives, unless council wishes to proceed, not to proceed with the project, and this option would advise MTO that we would not be accepting the $3 million grant. For JP2G in partnership with BTE, they received the highest score in the proposal. JP2G has been successful in many of the Connecting Link rehabilitation projects and understands and fulfills the MTO requirements related to the project, funding, and delivery of construction, also on schedule and on budget. They have completed many MTO projects from Highway 132, downtown, and even obviously O'Brien Road and Gillen Road, or O'Brien Road and Stewart Street. The JP2G BT Gemtech team all have experience with the town of Renfrew and have provided a good level of service on Renfrew projects. The submitted proposal shows the commitment to project scope, design, engineering costs, and construction management. And then, like I said before, it builds a very strong, like the J-Pituji and BT team builds a very strong integral interconnection of what I listed before, and that's the Hall Avenue extension, the Renfrew Master Transportation Plan, the MTO Whitten Road realignment, and the MTO 417 extension. The proposal doesn't include any limitations or qualification statements that would increase the cost through scope changes or anything like that going forward through detailed design or anything. The Department of Infrastructure and Public Works recommends council proceed with the award of this project to J-Pituji in partnership with BT and Gemtech. One thing I'd like to say is we also received the Morrison Hirschfield, and they were the second. They scored the second highest proposal. They did a very well proposal. They had a few statements which indicated the proposal fees submitted would be reviewed following detailed design, and the level of effort may be adjusted to suit. The construction and associated engineering inspection were also based off a 20-week construction, which we think it might be a little longer than that. So that would therefore put a risk on the budget and could make scope changes and everything in the future following detailed design. That's why JP2G scored a little bit higher, because the price is their price, and there wasn't really a risk to it going any farther or going up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Degree.
Through you, Mayor Sidney, I just, obviously I'm going to be in favor of it, but I just want to thank staff, because there's so many hours that goes into this, you know, putting these applications and stuff through. We just sit here as council and say yes or no, but, and like Acting Director Jameson said, you know, this money is crucial. We're a small, you know, based community, and we wouldn't have the funds to do this stuff. So I just kudos to the staff. It's not a coincidence that we get, you know, if you look at this connecting grants money that we've got over the last since 1999, like, it's pretty awesome. So anyway, just thank you.
Perfect. Councillor McWhorter. Sorry.
Through you, Mayor. Any idea, Mike, when, if this was awarded, when they would start the project and how long it would take?
Yeah, so this particular report would award the engineering design, and so they would begin on the engineering design immediately. And the idea is to have the design completed by January and get ready for tender like in February of 2024 for a construction start in probably April or May of 2024. And the construction is anticipated to take the full year, with finish up in 2025 in the spring, sort of similar to the Gillen Mass section, where the majority substantial completion would be achieved in 2024, and then final cleanup, landscaping, kind of tidy everything up for spring of 2025. And that sort of suits. So we're also working with the MTO on the Whitten Road realignment. And, you know, we should hear about that within the next month and a half or so through MTO. And there may be some additional construction related to that in 2025-26. Also, the town is looking at advancing Hall Avenue extension as well. And that's probably in that same 2025, 26, 27 timeframe. So there's a lot of activity, like Connor explained, happening. You know, in this section of the MTO connecting link with the roundabout is going to be sort of the key piece that is going to link up all these roads, these collector roads in the future. So 2024, it'll be opened with a roundabout and finished up, landscaped 2025.
So will that tie into support the expansion, 417 expansion, that timeline that we were sort of given?
Yeah, one of the critical elements of our application was to get this done and get it completed and functioning prior to the construction starting in on the highway, the 417. So we are in discussions with MTO now about the Whitten Road realignment and make sure that the ramps are all designed properly. Part of the roundabout will actually end up on the MTO right-of-way, so we will enter into an encroachment agreement for the construction of the roundabout on the MTO property, but we're certainly working directly with the MTO. The idea is to finish this work and possibly even the Whitten Road realignment prior to the construction start, which is anticipated 2026, 27 kind of thing in that time frame. on the highway. Thanks.
Revimo? Did you have?
Thank you, and to Acting Director Jameson, thank you for the explanation on the risk management with regarding the contract where you were able to offer us but it was the determination of some of the intangibles that the second company wasn't willing to or wasn't able to guarantee or I guess warranty. So I like the fact that you've eliminated some change orders by going with this company. And again, just to point out, it's $24 million worth of projects roughly. And, the funding from the province over those years has been in the neighborhood of about nearly 14 million. So it's, again, another good news story. And again, it's just to repeat, it's part of long-term planning and informing the MTO what our plans were to marry, the town's infrastructure to Highway 417 when it got to Renfrew. So, we're proceeding in accordance with the plan we submitted to them, and they're getting good value for it, as are we. So I'm very supportive of this and glad to see that we're moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, CEO Trumbull.
Just one quick point. Yes, the MTO funding is $3 million, but we're also using $1.2 million of the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, which is also provincial funds, and only $740,000 is coming from reserves. So that's money we've set aside in previous years for road specific, but no current tax dollars are being used to fund this project, which is a massive project of just under $5 million. So as we talk to the provincial government in our delegations and our advocacy work, the MTO Connecting Link has proven important to the town, but also OSIF, which is an envelope we're hoping that they will maintain and increase in the future.
Thank you. And I think just in a quick comment from, being around for the last 8 years with Connecting Links, I am far from an engineer, but this one seems a little bit more complicated and connect the dots and make sure everything lines up more than any other one. So I'm actually happy to hear that, like what Rebimo said, that you were able to tell us the risks and the whatever, so that this will go off without a hitch, hopefully. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to C4. That Renfrew Town Council approve the creation and appointment of the Mattaway Working Group mandated to ensure the successful completion of the Mattaway Activity Centre expansion project and assist in planning for future phases. Mover, please. Councillor Spolsky, seconded by Councillor Andrew Dick. I'll turn it over to CAO Tremblay for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we approach the end of construction and the finer bits of that, we felt it was important to, although we'll continue with the monthly updates at standing committee that are public, and we're committed to transparency on this project. But as we get into the finer details of the project, but also as we plan for the rest of the site, as you know, we also have an RFP out for the Parks and Rec Master Plan, which will take a look as well at the Mattaway entirety of the site and future phases, is to just bring together a working group of staff and council members. So the composition of the committee is the chair of the Rec Committee, chair of infrastructure, just because of the construction elements of this, and the chair of corporate services due to the financial, the amount of dollars that are being invested in this site, as well as myself, the treasurer, the director of Parks and Rec, and also the acting director of strategic asset management. So as we near the completion, the working group will be meeting weekly and then providing some guidance and some oversight. And then, as I said, we will continue to provide monthly updates at Standing Committee through the Fire, Recreation and Community Services Committee.
Any questions from Council? Councillor McWhorter.
I think this is a great idea. I look forward to hearing reports from this committee. My only one issue I have is timing. Based on the way this is set up, there's 3 councillors that are not on this list here, myself included. Based on the way things are going with Mattaway, I'd like a little more information sooner than 1 month. Based on this, you would have a meeting, then it would go to Fire and Rec, and then that recommendation would come to council. So basically I'm looking, or the other 2 councillors are looking at 3 to 4 weeks before we hear the same information you guys have. I don't think that's fair to the rest of the councillors not to have the same information as everybody else in this room. And I'd like to have at least a brief report to each, at least the 3 councillors who are not on the committee, when after you have your meeting. Because this committee does not meet in front of the camera. There are no minutes taken except action minutes, which means just whatever the recommendation would be out of that committee. So we wouldn't be getting the same information as the rest of council that's on that committee. I think, to be fair to all the members of council, we should all have the same information as everybody else. If nothing, just a brief email to give us a heads up on what's going on. And to be fair, we all know in this room there's been issues, and it would be nice to know about them on a timely fashion than a month or 2 months down the road. And, you know, I'm not faulting anybody at all. I'm just saying I'd like to have the same information as everybody else when they get it. Because based on this timeline, it could take 3 to 4 weeks before the other 3 of us know. So.
Yeah, I just want to remind you, too, that the committee meetings are televised and recorded and put on YouTube, so there's that. And then I'll turn it over.
Yeah, just in terms of the working group, so it's not a committee, just to be clear in terms of committees meet in public. The working group is really like the operational side of things, so anything that would require a decision of council, we could call a special meeting. But yes, to the councillor's point, which I think is a valid one, is part of the working group here is just to help on flow of information from the contractor, with Colliers helping us out on project management, to staff and council, so both senior staff knowing the in and outs of the project as well as councillors. And yes, and I'll take that on in terms of ensuring that all members of council are briefed on a regular basis. But I would say in terms of the decision making, we do have firms that are hired to do their work, and I expect them to be doing the work that we ask them to do and that we pay them well to do, and Colliers is going to help us on that. But this will allow us in the tail end of the construction to ensure that constant communication on a weekly basis. And yes, we will share that information as soon as we get it, and then also provide those progress reports to the public, because we are getting close to completion. And then also, as the Parks and Rec Master Plan, just on that phase, there will be public consultation as part of that project. So there will be, we haven't awarded that. That's out to RFP and will come back to committee for award, but there will be a whole public consultation phase to the Parks and Rec Master Plan. But the working group is really to do that kind of nitty-gritty behind the scenes work and then bring it forward. So if there's anything that requires a massive change order or something that requires council's approval that hasn't been pre-approved in terms of budget or scope of project, that will have to come to council, and worst case scenario, because we're close to the end, we'll call special meetings like today to do that. So I take it on myself to make sure that all members of council get information in a very timely fashion.
And I'll hold you to it.
Yes.
And I respect what you're saying, because I too am not on this. So he wouldn't even let me see the sheet. Any other questions regarding this? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Passed. C5. That Renfrew Town Council approved the civil work by McGrimmon Holdings, Inc. for the amount of $203,520.14, inclusive of non-refundable HST, and asphalt and curbs by Greenwood Paving for an amount of $508,800.35, inclusive of non-refundable HST, for the completion of the Mattaway Activity Centre expansion parking lot in 2023. Mover, please. Councillor Sobalski, second by Councillor Legree. Turn it over to Director of Recreation.
To you, Mayor. Thank you. So yeah, the parking lot and travel areas in Mattaway were always originally in the project for it. Obviously, depending on costing, we kind of went back and forth. It was going to be done during it or kind of after it. We decided to take it out to try and find some cost savings. Then it was going to be in our 2024 capital budget. At this time, agreement is obviously on site. The completion of the project is within the next couple months. We feel it's very beneficial, not only just for the Mattaway expansion. It also services the tennis pickleball courts, the splash pad, the soccer area as well. It's a heavily used area for all recreation. We feel the multi-million-dollar project we're putting in in that facility, it's a nice way to tie it into as well at the parking lot and to just leave it with gravel. Again, McGrimmons is on site doing civil work. Greenwoods was one of the 3 prices that Butcon received. The other ones were Bytown Paving and Tomlinson. They were the lowest price. Again, a local company, which was another beneficial in that. So yeah, that's the total costing and reasoning behind it, but that's why we're kind of looking to do it today instead of kind of waiting for the 2024, but it will come out of our 2024 capital budget.
Any questions? Councilor Corder.
Personally, I think this is a great idea. I hate to spend all the money that we have on an expansion and make it look like we haven't finished it. And I think fixing the parking lot and making it look nice is in for a penny and for a dollar sort of thing. I think it makes sense to do this. And then the second thing was I was glad to see that it's pretty much a local contract that's going. So good job.
Councilor Spelski.
Through you, Mayor. Director, you might have just said this. I see Butcon's name in here. Has this contract been pulled away from them, or are they involved still?
So originally it was part of their scope of work in the project. We kind of went back and forth throughout the project, and it is outside of it, but they got the prices. They were able to get the 3 prices from the companies that put in. And then so a few things have changed on it. A couple companies kind of came in. Originally we were just going to maybe pave it, not do curbs and sidewalks. A couple companies said, no, if we're doing it all, we're doing it all, kind of thing. And Greenwood still kind of held their price, kind of back and forth. As you can see in the site map there, the colors don't really mean anything, but that's just the whole area. I added on that back area behind the existing, where the staff and the machines kind of come out. Just makes sense to finish that up now. It is in kind of dire need as it is, so we'll have to get done as it is. So there's a few things that we've added on, and Greenwood kind of held their price throughout. But Butcon kind of did the laboring on, I guess, getting the pricing for us, and then that's how we came to the lowest costing with Greenwood.
Okay, thank you. So Butcon's not putting their 3.5% on this?
No.
Okay, that's good. That's question 1.
Yep.
Question 2, I just did a quick count, 121 added spaces. I know that's huge. The building we added is significantly bigger than the previous building. We have full-time staff from ourselves and other businesses. Is the 121 going to be adequate to handle the flow of all the new facility? And what's the comparison to the existing parking that's already there?
Yeah, that was kind of brought up before on the civil site plans originally during the project. So our existing parking lot and this new parking space was all calculated, and the parking lot number of spaces all equal out and will be adequate parking.
And if I can just add, as part of the review through the Parks and Rec Master Plan and the site plan for all of Mattaway, we'll look at adequate parking and also the feeder road that we're hoping to kick out in the future, and do we have adequate parking throughout the entire site? So although that's been analyzed as part of the civil work of the expansion, I think we have to look at parking for major events on site, all those things. So this is good for now, but we should look at parking broadly with the Mattaway site as well. So.
Thank you. And just a comment from the great firework display that happened on Canada Day. I did make it to the 35-minute wait time to leave the belly of the beast on Canada Day, so I'm happy that we're still continuing talking about an alternate way out of there. It's a safety concern.
Yeah, Reeve, Emo, and I have been talking about that for years, so let's get it done soon. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Council. All right, bylaws. Yeah, I love technology. That the following bylaws listed on the agenda of July 7th, 2023 be taken as read and passed. 62-2023 JP2G Engineering Agreement, O'Brien Road Highway 60 Project, Wrangler to Mask. 63-2023 Mattaway Expansion Working Group Terms of Reference. 64-2023 Renfrew County and District Health Unit Lease Agreement. 65-2023 Colliers Professional Services Agreement Mattaway Activity Center Expansion Project, and 66-2023 confirming. Mover, please. Councillor Degree, second by Councillor McWhorter. Any questions or comments on these bylaws before we continue? All in favor? Unanimous. That is carried. Thank you, Council. Upcoming meetings of council and standing committees, regular council meeting August 8th at 6 p.m. Infrastructure, Public Works and Asset Management Committee August 1st, 10 a.m. Planning, Building and Environment Committee August 1st, 2 p.m. Corporate Services and Economic Development Committee August 15th, 10 a.m. Fire, Recreation and Community Services Committee August 15th, 2 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned at 8:56. Thank you, council.